Hello fam, welcome back to Africa Explored. Please subscribe and click on the notification button if you have not, and let's get started. Let's talk about Togo, a small, narrow country in West Africa, squeezed between Ghana and Benin. It's a place with beautiful beaches, vibrant markets, and a political story dominated by one family for nearly 6 decades. Since 1967, the Gnassingbé name has been at the top, first the father, Eyadema, then his son, Faure. Togo is a republic with elections and a constitution, but the same family has held power longer than most TV shows have been on air. How does one family stay in charge for so long in a supposed democracy? The answer: military backing, political maneuvering, and constitutional changes. The people of Togo have protested and demanded change, but the Gnassingbé family has held on tight. The latest twist? Faure Gnassingbé's government just introduced a new constitution that could let him stay in power even longer. This move has reignited protests and deepened the country's political crisis. For many Togolese, it's about wanting a real choice, turning the page on a story that's lasted too long. The government's new constitution is seen as a plot twist that could keep the same family in power for years to come. The opposition and public are pushing back, demanding true democracy. Togo's political drama is far from over. The question now: will the people finally get to write a new chapter? Or will the Gnassingbé dynasty continue its reign? The answer is unfolding right now on the streets of Togo. To understand Togo's present, we need to look back at how the Gnassingbé dynasty began. It started with Gnassingbé Eyadema, a tough, ambitious soldier and veteran of the French colonial army. After independence in 1960, Eyadema became a key figure in Togo's military. He was involved in 2 coups, the first in 1963, which saw the assassination of Togo's first president, Sylvanus Olympio. Eyadema claimed he pulled the trigger himself. The army proved to be the real kingmaker in Togo. After the first coup, Eyadema stayed behind the scenes, controlling the military. In 1967 he led another coup, this time bloodless, and declared himself president. He dissolved all political parties and created his own, the RPT, making it the only legal party. For decades, Togo was a one-party state with Eyadema at the center. He built a powerful security apparatus and survived multiple assassination attempts. Eyadema cultivated a cult of personality. His image was everywhere, and he was hailed as the nation's father. His rule was absolute and dissent was crushed. This system of military-backed one-family rule became the foundation for his son, Faure. The Gnassingbé dynasty was born out of force, not democracy. Eyadema's legacy: a tightly controlled state, loyal military, and a single family at the top. This is the system Faure inherited and has worked hard to maintain. The story of Togo's politics is, at its core, the story of this family's grip on power, and it all began with a coup. The 1967 coup was a turning point for Togo. Before Eyadema, Togo was experimenting with democracy, multiple parties, competing ideas. Eyadema saw this as chaos and seized power, promising to end the squabbling. His solution: ban all political parties except his own. The coup itself was swift. Soldiers took over government buildings, and Eyadema was declared leader. He justified it by blaming politicians for corruption and division. Elections became a formality. Eyadema always won with near-unanimous results. The army, led by Eyadema, became the backbone of the regime. Key positions went to his own ethnic group, the Kabye, ensuring loyalty. Dissent was brutally suppressed. Opposition was not tolerated. Togo became a one-man state, remade in Eyadema's image. For 38 years, this system endured. The coup didn't just change leaders, it changed the rules of the game. Power came from the military, not the ballot box. This legacy of control and exclusion set the stage for everything that followed. Togo's democracy was put on hold, and the Gnassingbé era began. In 2005, Eyadema died suddenly after 38 years in power. According to the constitution, the Speaker of Parliament should have become interim president. But the army had other plans. They installed Eyadema's son, Faure Gnassingbé, as president within hours. Parliament, packed with loyalists, changed the constitution overnight to make it legal. The world called it a coup. Togolese people called it a betrayal. Protests erupted across the country. People wanted real change, not a family dynasty. Under pressure, Faure agreed to step down and hold elections. But he ran as the ruling party's candidate, with all the state's resources behind him. The 2005 election was chaotic and violent. The opposition claimed it was rigged. When Faure was declared the winner, protests exploded again. The government cracked down hard. Hundreds were killed, thousands fled. Faure's rise to power was supposed to be democratic, but for many, it was just another coup in disguise. The dynasty survived, but at a huge cost. The hopes for real democracy were dashed. The Gnassingbé family's grip on Togo tightened. The people's struggle for change was far from over. The stage was set for years of resistance. The Togolese people have never accepted the dynasty quietly. Since 2005, protests have been a constant feature of Faure Gnassingbé's rule. The biggest wave came in 2017 to 2018, when hundreds of thousands demanded a return to term limits. The opposition united, wearing red and calling for Faure to step down. The government responded with bans and arrests and internet shutdowns. Despite the crackdown, protests continued, showing deep frustration and courage. Some reforms followed. Term limits were reintroduced in 2019, but the catch? The limits weren't retroactive, letting Faure run again. For many it felt like a trick, change on paper, but not in reality. The fight for democracy continued, but the government always seemed one step ahead. The people's demand was simple, real change, not just new rules for the same old game. In early 2024, the government dropped a bombshell, a brand new constitution. Parliament, controlled by the ruling party, passed it quietly, changing Togo from a presidential to a parliamentary system. The new setup, the president becomes a figurehead, while real power shifts to the president of the Council of Ministers, chosen by Parliament. With Faure's party dominating Parliament, it was clear who this new role was for. The opposition called it a constitutional coup demanding a referendum. Protests erupted again, but the government pushed ahead. Elections were held in April 2024. The ruling party won big. In May, Faure signed the new constitution into law. The opposition rejected the results, calling the process a sham. Togo plunged into deeper crisis. Democracy sidelined, power consolidated. The government claimed reform. Critics saw a blatant power grab. The future of Togo's democracy looked bleaker than ever. The struggle for real representation intensified. The anger in Togo isn't just about politics, it's about daily life. After decades of one-family rule, most people feel left behind while a small elite grows rich. Togo has resources, but the wealth doesn't reach ordinary citizens. Youth unemployment is rampant. Most young people can't find jobs no matter their education. Advancement depends on connections, not merit. Corruption is widespread, and the legal system favors the powerful. Peaceful protests are met with forced. Journalists and opposition figures are harassed. Many feel their voices are ignored and their rights trampled. There's also an ethnic divide. The ruling family and military are from the north, while the opposition's base is in the south. This adds bitterness and a sense of exclusion to the political struggle. For many, it's not just about who rules, it's about fairness, opportunity, and belonging. The protests are about hope for a better life, not just a new leader. The fight is for dignity as much as democracy. The government's answer to dissent? Force and intimidation. After the 2024 elections, opposition leaders and activists were arrested. The government accused them of plotting unrest, justifying crackdowns. New laws gave authorities sweeping powers to silence media and dissolve civil society groups. Independent journalism became nearly impossible. Freedom of speech was crushed. International organizations condemned the abuses, but the government insisted it was maintaining order. ECOWAS and others watched, but their influence was limited. The regime claimed it was reforming, not repressing. For critics, it was clear the government would do anything to stay in power. The cost? The rights and freedoms of the Togolese people. So, what's next for Togo? Faure Gnassingbé and his party have changed the rules to secure their hold on power. With the new constitution, Faure could stay in charge indefinitely. The opposition and much of the public reject this new reality. But their options are shrinking, protests are risky, leaders are jailed, international support is weak. One scenario, the regime crushes dissent, and Togo settles into long-term one-party rule. Another, economic hardship or outside pressure forces real dialogue and reform. For now, the future is uncertain. The Gnassingbé dynasty could continue, or a new chapter could begin. The people's desire for change remains strong, even as the odds grow longer. Togo stands at a crossroads, between more of the same or the hope for something new. The world is watching, but the outcome depends on the courage and resilience of the Togolese people. Their story is still being written.